All too often, individuals who witness UFOs report sudden mechanical failure in their vehicles. There's various theories as to why this happens, such as UFOs giving off some type of electromagnetic force, or the occupants of the craft being able to easily shut down our electronics. Regardless of why these crafts affect our electrical systems, one thing is for sure: it's reported again and again. In this episode, we will examine another case where a car's electrical system was temporarily shut off. This close encounter of the second kind happened in Maryland in 1958 and has come to be known as the Loch Raven Dam Event. On October 26, 1958, around 10:30 p.m., two young men, Philip Small and Alvin Cohen, were out driving just north of Baltimore, Maryland, around the Loch Raven Dam. As the men were coming up on a bridge, they would spot a long oval object hovering around 100 feet over a bridge. The bridge was pretty big, being double-arced, about 40 feet tall and 500 feet long. The men were stunned and decided to creep up on the UFO slowly till they were around 75 feet away from the bridge. Then out of nowhere, the car and all the electrical systems completely shut off. They tried several times to restart the car, but with no luck. Scared at this point, the men decided to get out of the car and hide behind it. For the next 45 seconds, they watched the craft as it hovered silently. Then, it emitted a white bright light, which the men would later describe as a wave of heat. At the same time, the white light flashed, and a loud thunder-like sound came from the craft. The UFO started to rise up slowly, still very bright, and then darted off into the night sky. The men hopped back in their vehicle and were able to start the car. Unlike many other cases where witnesses just go home and report their cases later, the men drove to the nearest payphone and called the Ground Observer Corporation. The Ground Observer Corps was a civil defense program in the United States that helped protect the country from air attacks during World War II and the Cold War. According to Small and Cohen, they were unable to get in touch with someone from this department, so the two men decided to call the Towson police. The police would go to the scene, but there was no evidence that anything had occurred. In just a few hours after the men were exposed to the white bright light, their skin would start to burn. The men went to St. Joseph Hospital in Baltimore, and both were treated for burns. By all accounts, the men didn't suffer any sort of long-term health effects, and this appears to be their only sighting, or at least documented one. What could we make of this close encounter of the second kind, though? The men had a sighting that has many characteristics that we see in other UFO cases. The men's automobile experienced electrical failure, and also the men seemed to have some sort of short-term adverse health effects. In addition to this, the craft seemed to be a typical UFO, although it was a bit flatter than the usual craft. Still, this craft does bear some resemblance to air rods, which have been seen and reported in numerous sightings. While sometimes air rods can be attributed to an optical illusion in photographs, there are a number of cases where people report seeing them, and there is also photographic evidence. One of the big questions in this case was, were the men taken? It's surely possible, but there's nothing to suggest overwhelmingly that it occurred. The men didn't experience missing time, nor did any other part of their body experience pain. It could be the case the beings wiped their memory of the event, though. This case, like so many other UFO cases, has the question ufologists have pondered for decades. Why do these crafts reveal themselves to some, but not others? Surely with their technology, they are aware of humans nearby, and obviously cars as well. Sometimes sightings involve multiple witnesses. It doesn't appear that all sightings are accompanied by a close encounter of the third kind, or close encounter of the fourth kind as well. Perhaps the beings are looking to assess our reaction and how we respond to them. There are various theories why these entities stay in the shadows. Some believe that they are in contact with governments around the world, and for staying in the shadows, they are allowed to take people. Others think the beings are peaceful and just want to learn about us, similar to how we study animals. There are, of course, those too that believe the beings' intentions are malevolent and that we need to be careful. Some suggest the truth is out there, but our leaders have prevented us from knowing it as it would be too tough psychologically for many. These are just a few of many theories around extraterrestrials and UFOs. In time, we might come to learn the truth one day, but it seems, more likely than not, we will have to continue to study the patterns and trends and come up with theories.